Ambassador, thank you for speaking to us again. As we meet this afternoon, Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, is right now, we understand, with Vladimir Putin. And President Trump has been very clear, posting online just in the last hour, Russia has to get moving. Many people are dying. Do you want peace?
It's a good question. I will say, first of all, President Trump is right. We are moving on all fronts, and we are on offensive. As for Mr. Witkoff being in Moscow right now, it's a part of political process. The political process is very complicated, I will say. It is fresh, since it has now only for 2 months we have an exchange, series of exchange with Americans about that. Our representative, Kirill Dmitriev, he is a chief of our agency of foreign investment, was in States. Recently, he has talks also with members of Congress, senators, a wide range of contact. As I understand, this is a reciprocal visit by Mr. Witkoff, but we are not aware. They are now in St. Petersburg, as far as I have seen, and the meeting is really planned.
You say, though, that Russia is moving in all sorts of ways, and there have been serious talks. Donald Trump's point, and the Western allies of Ukraine's point, is that they don't see signs that Russia is moving. Ukraine signed up to an immediate unconditional ceasefire with talks to follow. That's what the Americans want, and Russia hasn't signed up yet. Why is Russia dragging its feet?
You have to give me a couple of minutes for an answer, because it is not so easy. I have said that we are moving in military terms on all the front. As on the political side, it is really complicated. As I have said, what has been suggested is a pause, a ceasefire. It's a good idea, and we are not against it. We stand for it. However, if you would like to have it seriously, then you need to carefully prepare it, really. Otherwise, if it will be broken, and a day after announcement the ceasefire will cease to exist, it will be extremely difficult to reestablish it. So what is happening right now is that there was an idea of having a ceasefire to stop fighting against energy infrastructure and to have ceasefire on the sea. We do observe ceasefire on the strikes against energy infrastructure. Since the 18th of March, no single shot has been. As for the Ukrainians, let me finish, please. We have counted today 64 strikes on the Russian energy infrastructure. So, two options here. Either there is no command to cease, to stop fighting our energy infrastructure, or they do not under command of they independently striking it without a command from Kiev.
The question remains, the US has been clear, it wants an immediate unconditional ceasefire and then detailed negotiations. Ukraine has said yes to that. Russia has not. And Russia has continued its attacks, including on infrastructure and including on civilians. So why is Russia dragging its feet? The question's the same. Why?
I would say that we are dragging our feet. We have to understand what US is wanting, and that is why these people are crossing Atlantics and having talks here and there. What about US plans? They are still for us unclear. We haven't seen any signal that Ukraine has to stop the war. Instead of that, US is suggesting right now a ceasefire, then a certain schemes or modalities of transition to a wider agreement, which unfortunately does not address our root causes of the conflict.
But the Americans are suggesting, and Ukraine has agreed to this, an immediate ceasefire and then detailed negotiations. And Donald Trump has said publicly, and these are his words, not mine, I don't wish to offend anyone, but he has said he is very angry, even pissed off, that Russia hasn't signed up. So the question is still, why? Because America wants a pause in the fighting. Ukraine has agreed to have a pause in the fighting, and Russia won't say yes. And you continue
Laura,
to attack.
If you believe that we will run up as soon as American is saying something, this will be the case. We have our vital priorities and our vital interests in this conflict, and they should be not only taken into account, they should be implemented. And Americans are very well aware of our position. We do not want a ceasefire for just to make it spectacular gesture, to show it publicly or for the media. We need full-scale settlement once and forever. So ceasefire is the first step, but after that, we need a serious framework for a treaty or something, an agreement or whatever it will be, which will put an end to any escalation in the area, to any use of force in the area. We should live in peace here in Europe.
But you were the aggressor. Russia carried out an illegal invasion of Ukraine, and you are saying you won't stop the fighting until you get what you want.
Of course, yes, we need. We has made every effort on diplomatic field, absolutely every, until we did understand.
Do you expect people to believe that? Let me just say what is going on
It is
right
up to
now.
you.
You've made every diplomatic effort.
It is up to you, absolutely. This is not our first interview, and I'm not trying to reconvince you in the others. We have two different points of view. Our task, as you are unbiased, of course, interviewer, this is in your CV. As I understand, you will, as it is said, you will die for impartiality. You should also understand there are two points of views on this subject.
But let's talk about the evidence of what is actually going on right now. Last week, Russia announced new conscription of 160,000 young people. There's evidence that you are massing troops again, many thousands of troops on the border. You are still bombarding Ukrainian civilians and infrastructure. 19 civilians were killed last week. That's according to the independent UN monitoring team who've been on the ground. Those are very strange activities for a country that says it wants an end to this war.
You mix some different things here, different subjects. The moratorium was supposed to be on the strikes against energy infrastructure. If you are talking about what has happened in Kryvyi Rog recently, I think that it is your note, it is clear that it is. So the thing is that there was a meeting of senior Ukrainian officers together with the foreign instructors in the restaurant nearby. It was targeted by high-precision missile. There was an attempt to intercept this missile by an anti-aircraft missile, Ukrainian one that has been deployed in among building in the living area, which has fallen down and which has made a big damage. As for our targeting of this meeting, we did achieve a success. 85 officers has been targeted over there. As for external damage, collateral damage, it has been done by Ukrainian missiles. It has been discussed in Security Council now, it has been discussed in the OSCE, we have provided evidence, and I have no room here just to explain it further.
But the point is that Russia is continuing brutal and gruesome attacks that are taking the lives of Ukrainian civilians, and there is evidence that you are amassing troops, conscripting thousands of new soldiers to keep fighting this war.
That's
not the behavior of a country that wants to engage seriously in a peace process.
As for conscription, it is being done twice a year in our country. We have a conscripted army, but they are not going to get engaged in Ukraine or in Kursk. It has been said that they are going to be trained, absolutely. As for atrocities and damage, we have now published a book on atrocities of Ukrainian army in Kursk area when it was under Ukrainian forces. Happily, it is not now even more, but we have a lot of evidences how bad it was about to the Russian people.
And there is plenty of very well documented evidence of appalling atrocities, whether that's in Bucha or Mariupol, atrocities committed against Ukrainian people during an illegal invasion of their country.
Do you want to have a last word in this session?
But let's talk about these talks. You say you have been trying to engage seriously in the diplomacy. As President Trump's envoy right now is sitting down with Vladimir Putin, what is Russia's message to America, who is visibly losing patience with this? You have Donald Trump telling you, get moving, this is a terrible war. What's your message to the White House?
I cannot give any message to the White House. All messages will be done by my president, Vladimir Putin. They will be translated to Mr. Witkoff, and he will deliver it to them. And that's the way we are having these diplomatic efforts. There are other channels as well. They are between the national security advisors on the Russian side and on the American side. I cannot say that I'm aware of everything about that, but it is. But we are trying to explain, and we are glad that Americans are listening to our reasons, concerns, root causes, and all of that. We understand that they are now seriously about our motives as well. And we see that there is an understanding of it. I cannot say that I have every note on this conversation, but in fact, this is our impression right now. This dialogue is the most important thing of what we have, because before it was total mistrust between us and Americans and Europeans as well, I will say. Now we are trying to reestablish that. We did have last week a meeting the day before yesterday, I guess, even yesterday, it was a meeting in Istanbul on the renewal of diplomatic relations. We have this channel, that channel, we have now some channels, but it is only the beginning.
Do you think America's your ally?
Oh, no, I don't think so. This is very far. It is. You would like this transition? No. Your question is about whether this transition from total distrust to alignment is possible in 2 months. My answer would be no. We have too many disagreements, but we are working on these disagreements step by step in different areas, and happily, if we will move this way and we will not hurry up too much in order to produce a picture for general public. So this is not the case.
Donald Trump clearly is pretty impatient, and while the diplomacy grinds on, however successfully or however much it may not
you dare
achieve
to speak
anything,
for Donald Trump? I will not.
I'm not speaking for Donald Trump. I'm quoting his public comments that have clearly expressed frustration and impatience with Russia. But while the diplomatic process grinds on, of course, people on both sides, including your own people, are dying as a result of this conflict. Now, the latest defence intelligence from the British Ministry of Defence tells us that around 250,000 Russians have now been killed in this conflict. That's the highest number since the Second World War. For how long will you continue
Laura,
to preside
this
over
is not
that
first
kind
time
of
we
loss
have
of
this
life?
discussion. The real ciphers are known only to our general staff and not, of course, to the British general staff. I think that Americans have more information on that. They have national technical means, which UK does not have in its position. Of course, they share information and all of that. I do not know real ciphers, and I would not attribute to any outsource of these things that they know real ciphers.
But the question is the same.
It will be announced, I'm sure it is, at some point in time.
The question is the same. The latest Western intelligence suggests around 250,000 people, the population of a small city, have lost their lives, and that casualties are approaching nearly 1 million. Whether you want to quibble with the numbers or not, the point is the same. For how long are you prepared to carry on with this conflict when thousands upon thousands of people on both sides are losing their lives?
Setting aside the question of the victims, number of victims on both sides, let it be Ukrainians, we are also not happy at all with that is happening. We are not happy that losses are continuous. Of course, there is a demand also in our country that war should stop anyway, but we have to achieve our goals. We have made a lot of contributions, a lot of investments in that publicly by people, by our equipment, economically and so on, but we have to make it. We have to do that, what we need to do, because, as I have said, we have vital. This, for us, is a question of survival, of our sovereignty, of whether we have keep our sovereignty or will be subordinated to the Western desires and to the Western interests in our country.
This conflict is not about your sovereignty.
It is about
It's about the sovereignty of Ukraine, which was an independent country which was invaded by Russia.
Okay, you also have to read what my president is saying, what the Minister of Foreign Affairs is saying. They speaking about that. This is about sovereignty of Russia as well, very much.
Do you fear there will be a moment when the Russian people hear the truth about the real costs of this war, the cost they're living with in terms of the economy being in terrible, terrible trouble in your country, and the real cost of the sheer number of lives being lost, do you fear there'll be a reckoning for Russia's leaders when that becomes clear? Because you can fool yourself, you can try to fool people at home with propaganda that it's not actually going as badly as it is. But do you fear there'll be a reckoning?
No, I wouldn't say that we're trying to fool people with propaganda, because it is clear that life in Russia is absolutely normal. Please go and see yourself. GDP is 4% for 2 years. Life did not change at all. You can see it with your eyes, or ask Mr. Rosenberg, he's in Moscow, he's confirming that, so it is, or he's traveling across the country and he's seeing it. You have a lot of journalists who are doing it, so life is normal. And as for other questions, of course, are we going to say the government is going to say the truth? They are telling the truth. They are telling, yes, it is difficult, yes, but I wouldn't say that we are on the verge of abyss in terms of economics, because life is continuous. Industrial is the sanctions has done very good to us. In fact.
Sanctions have helped the Russian economy.
Yes, they did, because we have a reindustrialization in our country.
You have built an economy based on a conflict in which thousands upon thousands of your own countrymen have lost their lives. You're conscripting young people, and even now it appears relying on North Korean and Chinese soldiers. Can you confirm that Chinese soldiers have been fighting alongside Ukrainians?
I have no idea, no slightest idea. That's the question is to Chinese. So we have Chinese that are living in Russia for centuries as well. So probably it's about them.
Captured some
probably
Chinese
it's about
soldiers.
them. As for the economics, it is, well, you have to read reports about economics. It is very strong, I will say. It's very strong. We may continue it for ages, I will say it. Don't worry about us. Worry about your own economy. It is in worse shape than ours.
The fact is, at the beginning of this conflict, you believed you could be in Kyiv in a couple of days. You're not winning this war. And in fact, you succeeded in pushing European allies together. Even as we speak today, there are 50 countries gathering, discussing, giving more money, more support, military aid to Ukraine, planning a force potentially of 30,000 to protect a peace if ever there is a peace deal. What do you say to that? Because actually, you're alone, aren't you? Apart from North Korea. Our Defense Secretary, John Healey, said Russia stands alone with only North Korea for a friend.
He is a clever man. He has assembled a force from 6 countries, including from 3 Baltic countries. How many troops Baltic countries can provide for this coalition of willing?
There are 50 countries gathering today.
No, as for the gathering, it's nothing bad. I have heard 30 countries are gathering today. Out of them, 6 would like to provide troops for a coalition of willing. Out of these 6, 3 are Baltic countries. They can give probably a battalion or a company. It is no more. So France and Britain would like to establish coalition of willing. This is a very complicated thing. As I understand, there are a lot of options how they can be deployed or not deployed as well, and we are following it with interest, I will say, but it will still be a deployment of NATO contingents, which is not acceptable for us. Any NATO contingent on Ukrainian soil, this is not acceptable in either would it be in a treaty or in the other hand. In any way, they will have to, overall framework, we will have to agree together, and our consent will be needed for that.
Why do you think President Trump didn't put tariffs on Russia? Because not tariffs.
Tariffs on Russia. We have no trade with the United States at the moment, as well as with the UK. Trade has been nearly stopped with some exclusions, so there is not much of a value to put any kind of tariffs on Russia and all of that. So trade with the United Kingdom has diminished by 95%, something like that. With United States, we have never had a big trade, by the way, with the exception of certain exchanges in nuclear and other things which are...
There is still some trade between the US and Russia, not much, but he did put tariffs on some countries who had even less. You had around $3 billion. What will Russia do if America squeezes countries who still buy Russian oil?
No, It is torn out of reality at the moment. So the value of oil is now less than $60 per, and $60 that was a ceiling that has been established by big seven countries some times ago on our oil. So it is irrelevant right now. So, but no, well, we have gone still beyond this income only from the oil. We have now a lot of income from other things. It is, and I don't believe that we are going to. Of course, we are going to suffer. The budget will not have enough, well, some deficit, but we can replenish it by the trade as well.
When we last spoke 6 months ago, you said that the UK was waging an aggressive war against your country, against Russia. But new British intelligence has reported that there is what's called grey warfare, grey zone warfare, targeting underwater. Your country has put Russian sensors trying to track British nuclear submarines. Those are serious accusations, and that's an act of genuine hostility against the United Kingdom. Do you deny that?
I'm not going to deny it, but I wonder whether we really have an interest in following old British submarine with very old, outdated nuclear warheads. It is, it is absolutely well known. Everything is known, and all these threats are extremely exaggerated. They have taken out of the blue.
You're not denying it?
I'm denying existence of threat for the United Kingdom. This threat has been invented, absolutely. There is no threat at all from Russia to the UK. But if UK would like to invent threat, so threats, different threats, it is up to you. I have to refer right now to this terrible new instrument, which is called FIRA. It is Foreign Influence Registration System, which has been introduced here in UK, and which is a humiliation for the Russian people who are in contact with the British citizens, because it is going to spoil our cultural, humanitarian, scientific, and all other kind of relations. I will say it's an instrument of McCarthyism, if you know what it is, McCarthyism. So that is absolutely, but it is up to you. If you would like to continue to worsen the relationship, to invent new threats, ostensibly coming from Russia, which is not the case, so this is up to United Kingdom. But the world is big.
I think our viewers will know very well what happened in Salisbury when Russian agents poisoned people on the streets of the UK. And people will remember very well what happened to Litvinenko here in the United Kingdom. There have been threats that have resulted in loss of life in this country,
to the
at the
Crimean
hands of your
War.
country.
We can refer to Crimean War and the long history of Britain that was fighting against Russia in different wars. Also intervention from the north.
Those weren't wars. There were attacks of the Russian state in peacetime, supposedly. No, in the United Kingdom?
It's a question for the specialist. It's a big question for the specialist. That depends whether United Kingdom will come to a conclusion that they would like to live in peace with us, or your Minister of Defense will continue to spend money in vain on Ukraine, on its armed forces, rearming it. As I heard, $500 million has been given today. Once again, is it a support of peace plan? No, it is just a oil on the flames in this story.
It's support of an ally that was the victim of an illegal invasion.
Ukraine is an ally
of the United Kingdom.
Of the United Kingdom. You have a partnership 100 years, and I have seen that it has been hardly criticized in different layers of society, but it is not an ally. You asked about efforts to come to peace. What is happening today in Brussels and yesterday, a new announcement of packages of weapons to the Ukrainian army. This is not a path for peace.
When will anyone see any credible evidence that Russia actually wants peace, desires peace, might behave in a way that brings peace to the people of Ukraine and your own people?
As I have said, we entered a political process. A political process has started. It is pretty intensive, I will say. It goes in different lines, not on the surface of media or general knowledge, but sooner or later this peace process will bring us to a result. And one should not impede this political process. It's very important, because at the moment, European Union, together with the United Kingdom, is doing everything to stop it.
They are doing everything they can to protect Ukraine in the event of a peace, so that if there is a ceasefire, Russia doesn't rearm and then do the same thing again. When do you think your president will meet President Trump?
At the appropriate moment, since they have an open channels and they communicate. To have this meeting which will result in nothing, it doesn't make sense. I think it will be a high point in all this story, in all this political process, probably the highest point in this process, when they will have to meet, to come together and to make an agreement about everything.
And do you think it's possible, Ambassador?
It is possible, of course.
I just wonder also, this is the third time we've sat down together, and you've been here, I think, for 6 years. Is that right?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Five
years.
is something, yes.
So you've been here for 5 years and 5 tumultuous years. During the time you've been here for 5 years, the relationship between our two countries has become more strained, more difficult.
Yes, of course.
I just wonder, what do you like and what do you dislike about the UK?
I dislike very much the situation when UK is talking only, it talks a lot about Russia, but it talks to itself about Russia, or it is with closest allies. This is absolutely a controversial situation, because earlier, I perfectly remember, we have had a lot of consultations. I used to work in NATO headquarters for 10 years. My prime, how to say,
counterpart?
Interlocutors were British diplomats, even in the beginning of the 90s. And usually we share information, we share our thoughts, we share our ideas, and we have come to a common understanding. Later on, it was also happening. Why this is not repeated today, I do not understand.
And the thing you like?
The thing you like? I like to travel around the United Kingdom because it is an interesting country. As I have told you, I have been even on Orkney Islands. Not every British citizen has been over there. This is an old civilization and it is a lot to learn about.
Ambassador, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.